Okay, this is take 6 or 7 or 8. I lost track. Okay, maybe one more time or maybe more. This is plain old geezer video number 15. I wasn't satisfied with the number of viewers that my videos were getting and was starting to lose interest in making more. I expressed this on a Facebook post to see if anyone really was interested and had enough of my Facebook friends that actually would like to see more. So that encouraged me to post one more last week. Well, to my surprise, the response to last week's video got 60 views in just a few days. My YouTube analytics shows that video moved up to 5th place out of all 14 videos of mine so far. That's doubly what I normally get. I'm not sure if y'all felt sorry for me or were just bored and nothing else to do. Either way, thanks, and keep it up so I don't turn into grumpy old geezer. In the next weeks, I'm thinking of making a video about the need to have your own net worth statement and why. Also, I'm going to share how I saved money for Mrs. Geezer and I to have money for an emergency fund and our retirement. As most of you know, that is not an easy thing to do at any age. I hope people of all ages will find this information useful. My goal is to educate the young ones and maybe some of y'all on the need to save and plan for your own future. Now, I am far from rich, but I wouldn't have what I do if I didn't put these tools to work for my wife and I many years ago. Please let me know if you think this is a worthwhile idea. Until the next video, be kind and smile. Now, please watch this video in its entirety. That is, if you enjoy my train hobby. If you aren't interested in my hobby, well, watch it anyway, or you might be put on that naughty list. Those ho-hos are escaping more often as my hair and beard get longer. How'd you like that? Okay, what I've been meaning to do while my little excursion train is on a trip is update you with before and after. I don't have a lot of before, so this is going to be like progress report on what I'm up to next after almost finishing my little depot. Actually, it'll probably never be finished. I still want to add a few things, but time will get there. First, you see a little pile of debris after I cleaned up this corner. Well, that's leftover ballast. There is some shrubbery in there, and this all gets saved and to be reused because it's too expensive to waste. And I can just dump it at any place and just use it as fill. But a couple of things I wanted to show you is I've had trouble with, let's see, let me go all the way over here and show you that I have trouble with my sections separating. All this back here is built out of styrofoam, and my styrofoam has shrunk, and that is where I had a nice tight connection. But you know what? That's not a problem because a little bit of landscaping will take care of that. Now, part of what you see here is this green styrofoam, and that I just chewed up in a blender to use as fill. And one of the things, let me regress and go back over to this corner. Now there's an example how I covered up part of the styrofoam or part of the crack that has developed between two sections. And you can see that overflow or that fall of green shrubbery, and it continues over to the other side. And showing you in this corner, I haven't filled the vegetation in that crack yet. But down here I've got most of it filled in, and one part fell out, but we'll get it back in there. Now you see down in this corner, new vegetation that I've put fill in there. I've ballasted both the upper and the lower track over to a certain point, and that upper track gave me fits before I ballasted it. I had to get it level, and it took some time to get it leveled out. Now you see some brown vegetation there, along with my real rocks. There's a couple more of my real rocks. I got them from outside, smacked them with a sledgehammer to make them into smaller pieces, and I think I like them, and I think I need some more. But the brown is fill that I put on top of that green styrofoam that you saw on the other side to, again, use it as fill. And that's all free. It's just sawdust from my workshop. And coming across, now you see some new construction. If we go up here on this hillside, you see a little bit of a creek bed. And it runs down alongside the track and falls off behind this trestle. Well, I had an area here I created for the trestle, but I decided that I'm going to put in a creek bed. And that's what that spackling is, the beginning of my creek bed. And excuse my lamp. And I have it running over to this culvert, which is another dry creek bed at the moment. I may just keep it dry, I don't know. And so this is where they're going to merge. And what I'm going to do is take and probably cut the styrofoam here and make a little bit of a tunnel to get the creek to come through. I might even raise that track, don't know yet. But I'm going to have the creek bed, excuse my wire so I don't trip the train. I'm going to have my creek bed run along this siding track over to about switch number 6. And at that point, I think I'll bring it through the styrofoam so it comes out here at the edge of the platform. Eventually, this is actually going to have a fascia board on it, and I would cut it out to show that creek bed filled with stones, so it gives some more effect and also gives me more to do. Now you see the majority of my platform now, and my next phase, or continuing phase, because I do everything in, when one thing's drying, you can do something else. In this area, you've seen in the past, if you've watched any of my videos in the past, you've seen that I'm going to have a roundhouse and a round table in this area. Well, before I do that, I'm laying down a cork sheet. And the reason I'm doing that is I wasn't thinking at the time, and this is cork roadbed that I put the track onto. Well, any normal real-life engine yard, or train yard, I should say, where they store cars and sort the cars, and the engines are serviced and stored, the track is at the same level as the ground. And you see, I have started to do that, where this area I'll be filling in with more fuel so it's at ground level. But I found that sheet of cork will fit in there and anywhere else, and it's all the same level, and that'll give me a level playing field. So that is my next goal in process, along with after that creek spackling dries, is to fill it full of stones and a little bit of vegetation, and as I said, cut that creek bed in there before I lay any more track, because I will have to be running a piece of track over it, I think, so far with that. Question mark is, I plan on running track eventually over in this area, which is going to be some kind of industries or a town. Don't know yet. Time will tell. I might even change it. One of the other things you may have noticed is in the past video, I had some green wire coming out of the back and draping over here off of my control unit. Well, this control unit is to control each engine separately. It's called DCC. Normal, old-fashioned trains run on DC current. This is DCC, which means digital command control. It can do both. But in digital command control, each one of your engines has its own address or... All right, this is the engine that I have programmed. And if you see close enough, it has a number on it. And that number is 5873. Now I can program into my computer, which now shows you 03. And I am going to press a button here and put in 73. This train should operate. And I forgot to change that switch, I think. All right, there's my diesel sitting on the track, and I have the throttle up to a certain setting. And let's go back and look at the engine, and I'm going to put it in reverse. And notice it responds slowly and then picks up speed, and I hit the brake, and it takes time to slow down. I can change that setting on how quickly it stops, how quickly it speeds up, and the maximum speed that it will run. Because I don't want to turn it up full throttle, because it'll actually throw the cars off the track. And we don't need that to happen. So that's what programming an engine does. Now, some engines have a lot more features, such as lights, and you can turn them on and off. And features, and there are engines that cost more, of course, and they have sound features. And they have a horn, and they have a starting up process. They have a bell. So everything that a real train has, you can get on these little engines if you want to spend the money. I'm not into making the noises. I'm sticking with the ones that are controlled by DCC. That's what this system is, because that engine can run by itself. Then I can plug in number 03 at this time is my little green engine, and it would run on a separate track at the same time. And you can't do that with the old trains that were DC. Well, you could, but what would happen is they would both slow down to half speed. And here I can run one in one direction, run the other in a different direction. So that makes trains a little more enjoyable. Well, I hope this was a little informative to you, and I plan on trying to continue to do some updates before I actually start on them, because I think a progress report is interesting to see the before and after. All right, I got my other engine, and it is sitting on what's called a programming track. And that track is just sitting here on the edge of the platform. It has two wires sticking out of it, and these are actually old speaker wires from an audio system, old-fashioned kind. And what it'll do, it'll plug into this cord that I'm starting to fit into the platform, and that's one side of it. And the other end of the cord will plug in like this. And of course, there'll be another one here, and then the end of these wires will go to the back side of my control unit. Now we'll send a signal to this program track. Now what that does is, you see that has a number 5873 on it. So I can take and program that engine to do what I want it to do. Now what would you program, or what would you change? Well, I'll show you exactly what it can do. When I move this engine over, as soon as I get it on the track, get on there. Very touchy. All right, so now what we're going to show you is it doesn't work. It doesn't run right now because my little green train is running. So what I'm going to do is plug in and change the address. I'm not using all four numbers, 58, 73. I'm just using 73. And if you notice, there's an 03 on it now. Well, that's the address for this little engine. Every engine shipped that is DCC has an address built into it as 03. And then you can change the address of how many engines you want. So I'm going to change this one. I'm going to change this one to 73. And I press this button, 73. They couldn't make them any smaller. And then that button again, and now that should make this engine work. So I turn it on forward, and there it goes. Come back here. I put the brake on. I throw it in reverse. And you see how it takes its time starting out and then speeds up. Well, that's some of the things I can program. I can program how quickly it responds when I put it in forward. And that's this little switch here. You see it hesitate, just like a normal train would. And I put the brakes on, and it slowed down slowly. One of the other things I can do, too, is this dial is a speed control. And this engine will go so fast, it will knock itself off the track. So I can limit how fast, what the maximum speed is on that engine. Some of the other features, if you have a more expensive engine and it comes with sound effects, you can set the bell, the whistle, the horn. I should say the horn is the whistle. That little one has a whistle. This one has a horn. Difference between the modern and the old. Also, many of the other engines, a little more expensive engines, have lights. Front lights, rear lights, and you can program them any way you want. So, I'm still learning the programming book. Well, I reprogram this to put my little green train away, or my little yellow, my green train. And I reprogram it to 03. And I'm going to move it forward. Past my number 11 switch, which is right here, which is right there. And we're going to put it to bed. So I put it in reverse and slowly back it down into the excursion area. Now you notice the engine stopped. Well, I didn't stop it. It stopped itself because I forgot to hook up two leads to feed this siding. But I can drill two holes anytime and solder two leads, one to each side of the track, a positive and a negative, run them under the platform and connect to my bus wire, which is the main feed wire, and that will allow that engine to go down all the way into the area that it's parked. By the way, I thought you'd like to see the whistle for my little green engine. The whistle's a lot bigger than the engine, and that came from one of the Mast General stores, and this one was up in Asheville, I do believe. I didn't buy this. My next door neighbors, my neighbors across the street, when they moved away, they knew I had trains, and so they gave this to me. Until my next video, toot toot.